Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we are doing 1987's Over the Top.
Little known fact, NAMBLA gave this 4 out of 5 Fogels.
Come on, dude. Sammy Hagar has a song in this. It's the shit.
Speaking of the soundtrack, since you're just going to bring that up right away, strangely romantic for a father-son rekindling. Hence my NAMBLA comment. It was overtly romantic and at times was verging on Chinatown.
You're right. It's fact.
Before we dive into it, if you want to follow Corey or me on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Idle Poncho. And this movie, Over the Top 1987, stars Sylvester Stallone as Lincoln Hawk.
Yeah, it's great.
Robert Loggia as Jason Cutler. Rick Zumwalt as Bull Hurley. And Dave Mendenhall as Michael Cutler, a.k.a. Mike Hawk.
We discussed how this movie was better. It was better than I remembered it being.
Yeah.
Not to say that it was good. It was just, it wasn't the fucking roadkill that I thought it was.
Yeah, honestly, when you said that, I said, okay, I remember loving this movie as a kid. I don't know why I bought into like the whole underground arm wrestling thing as hard as I did at whatever age I was, 12 or whatever. Yeah. But I really love this movie and I haven't seen it in a long time. And I thought going into it, I'm like, even though I love this movie, it did smell a little cheese. There's a little cheesy even when I was young.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I thought it was going to be terrible. You're right. And it was better than I thought because the acting was actually good.
Exactly.
For almost a throwaway movie. I mean, the plot was okay. You know, father, son, he bounced when the kid was little. And, you know, now
which we never find out why. He says, all he says is, you were tearing us apart. But this is like the main fucking point of the movie.
Yes.
Like, you just run away from things. I'm sorry you think that. It's great.
Hey, great.
They only allude to the fact that, hey, Robert Loggia's a dick. And he's like this rich prick throughout this whole movie. So that's probably why. But really? That's why? You bounced? And now you're just going to be a truck driver? And okay, cool, whatever. But this movie opens with Sly driving his big rig, washing his face, shining the hawk hood ornament that he has.
Yep.
And apparently, like, you don't really know this at the beginning, but he's getting ready to go to his son's military academy graduation.
Yes,
which,
we're seeing a fantastic cutaway montage.
Yes.
Between the two.
He shows up incredibly late. Like, and by late, I mean the fucking ceremony's over. People are leaving.
Oh, yeah.
And Sly finally pulls in. Like, you knew he had this graduation, or else why would you be there? So you knew this, and you were still... I've been to graduation ceremonies. They're long. I'm assuming military ones are even longer. And you still got there when people were leaving? Cool, whatever. And this is an ongoing theme of him arriving late and interrupting shit.
He is not in a hurry to do anything throughout this entire movie, which is actually to get to the plot of the fucking thing. And if you notice when he shows up at the graduation, the people are so fucking rude.
Dude, they're staring at him like he's walking around with his dick hanging out of his pants.
Right?
Like,
it was unbelievable.
The only crime he committed was him showing up in what I guess would only be considered as like a faux gangster look with the gray suit pants and the suspenders with the dry shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Like you look like a newsie that just never got fired.
Extra! But yeah, so he gets there. They all give him dirty looks. They don't even know who the guy is. And they're
they're like, get out of here, trash.
So he gets into the colonel's office. They call in Michael. Michael comes in, and this is apparently like the first time he's met his father since, he was a baby. He's 12 years old, and Michael even says,
"Do you really think you can make up 10 years in 2 to 3 days?"
Now we have a time frame. He left when he was roughly 2. He's back when he's 12. And he's back because the colonel even says, your mother called, and she wants you to spend time with your dad. And at the beginning of this movie, they get to the truck, and he's like, bro, this is the shit we're taking? And
before they even get to the truck, he's I don't have a father. First off, bitch, I'm standing right here. That's fucked up.
Can you wait till I leave and talk behind my back?
Be a normal kid. Have a little bit of fear, you little shit. And then he goes, can I see some identification?
May I see some identification on this man, sir?
I told you this when we talked about the movie a little bit before we recorded. But at the beginning of this, my notes take this journey throughout this movie. And at the beginning, my notes are like, what a dick. This kid is just, he thinks he knows everything and yada, yada. And then as we'll go through this movie, he's just the adult here. Like, who asks for identification? Oh, I am an adult.
You're right.
Stallone, through this whole movie, is such a man baby. When somebody asks you for your identification, you typically show your driver's license. This son of a bitch pulls out a poster of him and his wife at their wedding. It boggled my mind that was the ID that he showed.
It was insane.
But so they start on this whole like, oh, we're going to go on a road trip, father and son, and everything's going to be cool. We're going to get to know each other. So they get on the road, and Stallone reveals that he was sending Mike letters this whole time since he left, basically. And apparently Mike was not receiving them. We see this by the body language, and so he hasn't been getting letters.
We're also far enough along in this ride where I'm genuinely concerned that Mike Hawk's entire dialogue is going to start with,
"Sir, may I ask a question?"
Quit asking me if you can ask me a question. You're already asking me a question by asking me if you can ask me just ask the fucking question. Enough with the preambles. Christ, the ride ain't that long.
Yeah, the whole "can I ask a question" and the "sir," it bothered me. Don't ask me why. Like, normally people are like, yeah, that's how kids should talk to adults. Oh, fuck you and your adults. Just call him Snake or Hawk or whatever the hell his name is, and let's move on.
Whatever animal he's named after in this movie.
It cuts to Robert Loggia, this old wrinkly prick who's reading the colonel at the military academy the riot act because he let him leave with Mike's actual
his
father.
His appropriate guardian.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, your daughter called. And he's like, fuck you and my daughter. And he's my kid, whatever the hell. This whole movie, I was waiting for Robert Loggia to come out and say,
you play football like a Gennaro played football. You tear their fucking heads off and you shit down their necks.
I love Robert Loggia so much, and he does a great job in this movie. But he's just like this wrinkly old prick, and his whole character arc is him trying to sabotage the father-son meeting and traveling.
Michael Cutler is my boy.
Okay.
Why? Because because Mike's mom is in the hospital. She's sick. She has cancer or something. She has to have some surgery. So the whole goal of this father-son traveling across the country or whatever is to get him to see his mom and have the father and son spend some time together. There's no agreement beyond that. And she's in the hospital where the grandfather lives, like in the same area in LA or wherever. So why don't you just wait till Stallone and his kid get home and then just take the kid and go kick rocks, Sly?
Michael Cutler is my boy.
So Sly's whole arc here throughout this movie is he's got to win the arm wrestling tournament in order to get his truck and the money and start his business.
Yep.
Right? If I'm Robert Loggia and I have goons who can fucking literally track this guy down, just rando traveling across country before we had cell phones and GPS.
Yes.
You could do this. You should know what his goal is. So I'm going, yo, here's what we're going to do, right? Daughter dies. I'm going to set you up with your business. I'm going to set you up. You live here on the property, but you're going to go out trucking. We're going to raise Mike Cock together. And then he's on the road so much, I'm already warped this kid's fucking mind. He's halfway there to being a fucking, Eric Trump. So fuck it.
Exactly. Well, they get to, and you can tell all the rich, privileged shit when they get to their first stop, which is this greasy spoon where they're going to have steaks. They sit down and Mike Cock goes through this whole...
A fried chicken dinner with mashed potatoes and gravy contains about 1,000 calories and 50% fat.
I'll just get a fucking pecan salad or some bullshit that he orders. And Smasher comes up to Sly and challenges him to an arm wrestling match in this greasy spoon. He also doesn't believe anything that he's told, FYI. And he's very adamant about the fact that...
I don't believe anything.
Dope. So they decide that they're going to arm wrestle.
Be tough.
They're going to arm wrestle for $1,000. Which I was like, you're both dirty truckers. Where'd you get $1,000 from? But okay. My next question is, why does Sly just leave his kid that he just met randomly at the bar area of this restaurant and go to this back room? And number two, do they just have arm wrestling tables at these greasy spoons across the country so that truckers can arm wrestle?
Okay, I can semi-answer these questions. One, he leaves them there because when they first walk in, literally everyone knows him at this rando truck stop. He's shaking hands and shit like he's the goddamn president. It's insane. He literally looks like he's about to give the State of the Union when he walks into this place. So he has no problem leaving his kid there. Nobody's touching Mike Hawk.
You're right.
Your second question. Apparently, yes, because they have a whole truckers division at the arm wrestling competition.
You're right. I totally forgot about that.
So we don't know about truckers' back rooms.
So after this, after Hawk wins, because he beats Smasher, he gets his money and he runs into Bull Hurley, who challenges him to an arm wrestling match, and Sly denies him. Says that they'll meet in Vegas. A couple of things. One, the guy who plays Bull Hurley in this is fantastic. One of the best bad guys in a movie that I can remember. Like in a movie like this. And he was the best. He's the best bad guy like that since King Kong Bundy in the Richard Pryor classic Moving. And even if he didn't do a good job, I'd still say he did a good job because he is a massive. It's the biggest dude I've ever seen.
I'm 6 feet tall, and that guy literally I'm a nugget shit in his day.
You're like a pocket. You're a pocket human for that guy. He just puts you in his pocket and he trucks across the country. So Mike continues to test his dad on their trip. The whole turning the radio on and off. He asks his dad if he still deals drugs because that's what fucking Grandpa Wrinkly Dick told him.
Are you still dealing drugs, sir?
Yeah, your dad deals drugs.
He's a drug dealing loser. So
they stop to sleep. They wake up and they get into the exercise and getting to know each other montage. You need a montage in a movie like this. I get it. And they play some like Kenny Loggins. And then they get back in the truck Mike berates his dad for another, I don't know, hour or so about how much of a moron he is, and you don't have any education, and you're just a dumb trucker, basically. And Sly's like, oh yeah, really? Why don't you drive this truck? I bet you could drive this truck. To which Mike Hawk takes over, grinds the gears for about 4 seconds, and then all of a sudden, he's a professional truck driver.
Yeah,
at 12 years old.
In this scene, you're actually proving Mike Hawk right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what, you think you could drive so much better than me? Actually, yeah. About 5 minutes in, he's crushing it on the highway.
Yeah. Dude, I'm 40 and I couldn't drive a fucking semi-truck right now. If you gave me a month.
No, I couldn't even get the gears. You can't even get that stick into gear, let alone turn the wheel and press the... Get out of here with all that shit. But anyway, they cut away to his grandfather working to find some way to get Mike back and find Mike. And even though his lawyer says that it's never going to happen according to the law because he's with his father, and his mother said, be with your father, so you're not getting him back, Peepaw.
Literally, this is why I keep going back to the Chinatown of this whole thing. Because literally your daughter's dying wish is to let the son reconnect with his father. And you're just like, no, he's my son!
Michael Cutler is my boy!
Everybody tries to tell him, hey, it's not your son, and no, you can't. His lawyer's like, dude, it's a losing. I know you're rich and shit, but like, according to the law, you can't have your grandson. He's not like your kid, but whatever. I don't care. We need to go get Michael. So, cool. Go get Michael. So, they stop again to eat. Sly gets Mike into an arm wrestling match against some random hillbilly kid, and Michael cries because he goes into the arm wrestling thing, and he gets his ass kicked by this very intimidating hillbilly child. And he's like, screw you, Dad. He runs outside. Sly gives him the whole, well, you beat yourself. You're halfway there. It's great.
The world meets nobody halfway. Do you understand what that means?
He goes in after his, like, positive thinking and beats the fuck out of this hillbilly in arm wrestling.
Yes.
And he's never arm wrestled before. His arms look like spaghetti. But yeah, he's just going to totally beat this jacked hillbilly kid. Cool, because of positive thinking.
Did you happen to notice how similar his monologue to Mike Hawk and his monologue to his son and what was it, like Rocky Balboa? How similar those two monologues are.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
He has a weird thing with like propping his son up with like life lesson monologues.
Yes.
He's a good kid.
So he beats this kid in the arm wrestling. They go to call Mike's mom and give her the good news. And like, oh, you tell her he was 6'3" and you kicked his ass. And yeah, it's cool. He gets out of the little phone booth. Sly goes in, gets on the thing, and Michael goes and he's flexing and he's all amped up. And he gets hijacked and kidnapped by two hillbilly thugs.
First off, he's flexing like a dipshit and looking at his muscles. Once again, walking into fucking traffic. You're in a parking lot. And he's just like, hey, I'm like my dad. They're great.
Oh, yeah, great.
Sly beats up because they jump Sly too. Sly makes quick work of that guy. And then gets in his big rig, chases down the hillbilly hitmen, and runs them off the road, gets Michael back, and they just ditch their truck, and they're like, well, fuck it, we're out of here. Like,
Dude, that was the most, like, we're not paid enough for this shit.
So
it's so ridiculous.
He saves Mike Hawk, and they, after this scene, they finally get back to the hospital, and come to find out Mike's mom died in surgery that afternoon. Mike gets really upset because he's like, you're poor and we should have flown here, but you had to drive because you're poor and you're, I don't know, poor. And then he leaves and gets a cab. And Sly, being the man baby that he is, does nothing about it. Mike just runs to the cab and runs away and gets out.
Yep.
And Sly just goes,
just like his father.
Yeah. Just, oh, well, fuck it. I got deliveries to make. Like, you just let it happen? Cut to the mom's funeral. Once again, I'm sure Sly knew when and where and what time the funeral was, but he gets there fashionably late, in the middle of the ceremony, just to drop flowers on the coffin and leave.
Yeah, and this is where we have like a weird lovers triangle thing, because Mike Hawk is looking at Robert Loggia, who's looking at Sly, who's looking at Mike Hawk. And it's just like this weird kind of get out of here. I'm coming to say goodbye. But it's my dad. Get out of here. I'm going to say goodbye. My daddy. It's just this weird rotation that's happening in this 30-second scene. I didn't care for it.
No, I didn't care for any of this, because this, again, just makes Sly look like a giant man baby.
Right, exactly. He looks like the deserter that Robert Loggia keeps calling him throughout this whole thing.
He looks like a deserter, and he obviously doesn't own a fucking watch, because he's late, and not even like a few minutes late, like, hey, fashionably late. He shows up like an hour late to shit.
Oh, yeah, they're like dropping the fucking coffin in, and he's like, wait, Kobe!
Sly finally wants to see his son, right? He goes to Grandpa Moneybag's house, and he gets to the gates, and he's denied by security. Security says, you're not wanted here. We'll call the cops. Instead of Sly just going, yeah, go ahead. He's illegally kidnapped my son. Exactly. Why don't you call the cops? Sly, instead of, again, running away like he does, he's like, yeah, I'm angry man baby. So he decides to take his Hawk truck, drive it through the gate, through the yard, through the fountain, and into the house. Listen, all you had to do was drive it through the gate. You're not breaking into Tony Montana's house. Security, it doesn't have AK-47s. It's just security. Because he's rich or whatever.
I have a better idea.
You drove
Call
all
the cops.
You drove all the way into his house, to which now you've made the situation so much worse, because now you're getting arrested as your son's watching you get arrested, because you crashed into his grandfather's house with your shitty big rig. Dope. Cool. So giant man baby goes to jail. They cut to prison. Now, I got a ton of questions here. Okay, so Sly's sitting in the prison cell. The guard comes over to let him out because he has a visitor, which turns out to be Robert Loggia's private secretary or whatever. So cool. But when he gets to the cell, he goes,
"You Hawks?"
Sly looks at him and is like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "No, that's not your name. Yeah. It's Hawk." The side of his truck says Hawk Hauling. They call him Hawk throughout this movie, but in certain parts of this movie, they call, like Bull Hurley in the earlier scene when they're in the restaurant and they're arm wrestling, he calls them Hawks.
You got lucky again, huh, Hawks?
He doesn't correct anybody. The cop comes over and calls him Hawks. He's like, yeah, that's me. And then he goes to meet with the Robert Loggia's secretary at the thing, and then he calls him Hawk.
I'll make this brief, Hawk.
And I'm like, what the fuck is your... how many times was this script rewritten? Because...
Well, what really happened was there is a guy who's also a truck driver who spells his name Hauckes.
Dude,
and this Lincoln Hawk is pulling a talented Mr. Ripley. And it's just like, yeah, it's me. It's always me.
Dude, I was ready for Joe Pesci or somebody to jump out from behind Sly during this and I'm here to clear up the confusion on the Hawks thing.
I think I might be able to help with the Pam Dilemma.
Sly goes and meets the secretary at the little jail thing. The secretary threatens Hawk with a lawsuit if he doesn't go away, which he doesn't have legs because all Hawk has to do is go, that's my kid. He could get a shitty attorney to get him custody of his kid because It's his kid.
And by the way, his kid was kidnapped. He lost his mind and went through the gate. You know how many years of law school I have? Fucking 0. That defense just won the case.
But then Mike, being the grown-up here again, is with the secretary. Yeah. He sits down and talks to his dad. He tries to get some answers out of his dad about, like, listen, where are we going to live? I'll come with you. But where are we going to live? What are we going to do? Are we going to be on the road? Like, how is this going to work? To which Sly gives him the, well, we'll be together and that's all that matters. It's all that matters. What? This isn't a fucking Disney movie. It's not
this
all
isn't
that
the end of The Graduate. You're not going to be on the back of a bus in a wedding dress. Unbelievable.
Mike Hawk came from the lap of luxury with his grandfather and all the toys and things you could ask for as a child, except for, love. But now you're going from all of that and not getting the attention and love that you want from your grandfather to, I'll give you all the love and attention. We're going to be living in a fucking vacated bathtub, but, whatever, love. Really? Like, there's got to be some middle ground, Sly. But Sly, again, is a man baby and says, we're just going to live on love, and love will conquer the world or whatever. He decides that he's going to take the deal and just go away. So he goes to Vegas for this arm wrestling tournament. He gets to Vegas. He sells his truck for $7,000, but keeps the hawk hood ornament, because...
Because nobody gives a shit about your fucking hood ornament but you.
Hey, can I keep the hawk? Yeah, sure,
guy. That'd be great if he said, can I keep the hawks?
Then it cuts to Mike finding the letters. So I'm confused here. So Mike finds the letters. Like, apparently he's going through his mom's room in the house.
That's what I thought. Like, he finds them in a purse.
Yeah, and he finds a purse with all these letters that were addressed to him. And then he finds one of the letters and he opens it and reads it. Hey, Michael, I'm on the road and I bought you the snow globe or whatever the hell he wrote. So, but he finds it in a purse in his mom's room. So was his mom hiding the letters? Because from what I remember, I thought it was his grandfather hiding the letters.
That's what they make it seem to be.
So I got a little confused there.
I don't get it at all. But I was the same way. I'm like, does Robert Loggia have a man purse? Because I didn't understand, like, how that happened.
Leave me alone. I put it in my man purse.
It's a satchel.
So he finds the letters. He gets the feels. And he decides to sneak out and steal a truck and drive to the airport to fly to Vegas? Did he steal a credit card to get onto the plane? Again, more questions that aren't answered.
Between this and War Games, I did not live an appropriate childhood.
No.
No. I thought I had a lot of fun, and I didn't do shit, it turns out.
No, I didn't steal a car at 12. Listen, for being such a rich kid, he's doing some hood shit in this movie, okay? He's stealing cars and credit cards and getting on planes and flying to Vegas, awesome.
He's about to dip 2 fingers in his high school girlfriend on a roller coaster. I can fucking guarantee you that.
The next scene we see Sly betting the $7,000 he got from the truck on himself at 20-1 odds. The arm wrestling begins. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things here. I got to sit up.
Okay.
Okay, it's time to talk. Talk turkey here.
Are we going to do this? Okay.
Sorry,
I got excited.
So, the arm wrestling starts, and for an arm wrestling movie, and again, I don't know why I used air quotes, but for this, you got football movies and baseball movies, and the tension and everything is palpable in these movies. Yeah. And it's you get to arm wrestling, it's really? They do such a good job. I'm gonna actually compliment this movie here. They do such a good job during these scenes of making it so it's filled with anxiety and there's a lot of emotion in it and you kind of get caught up in it a little bit. And I was just yeah, this shit's dope. I want to start arm wrestling people.
They did a good job of setting the table with it. The one thing I kept waiting for, just, obviously we're watching this movie well after the fact, but I just kept waiting for bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Everything was just super intense during these things. And there's a couple of characters I really liked. John Grizzly is the best in this. He drinks motor oil.
I'm going through you like gas to a funnel.
He eats lit cigars.
We're just going to go ahead and say this. Hi, kids. Uncle Corey here. Don't ever drink motor oil or eat lit cigars. Both of those things will kill you.
Yes.
One quicker than the other, but both of those things will kill you.
Absolutely.
So, while Armando may think he's cool, just remember, say no to motor oil.
Just say no. Just say no.
The one bad thing, and I get it was 1987, but bruh, these outfits that some of these people are wearing, platform shoes and sneakers? Why do you need those? Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah, no, this was a very hodgepodge, weird mix of like WWE meets American Gladiators meets arm wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell who was going to make it to the finals, even if you didn't understand who Sylvester Stallone was.
No.
Just from the simple fact that the two guys that are dressed in normal human being clothes.
Yes.
I think they're going to make it. Except for the one guy in the polo shirt. Did you notice that fucker? He's dressed like Ricky Schroeder out there. What the fuck are you doing?
You were right.
But yeah, so they make
You can't show up. Dude, you can't show up to an arm wrestling tournament in a polo shirt. Bitch.
Dude,
Come on.
This isn't White Men Can't Jump. Like,
no.
He White Men Can't Jumped it. Like, he was like showed up in the polo shirt, stretching all weird before.
Yeah, exactly. He thought he was hustling.
That's the way you're gonna do it.
I did have one issue with this tournament. Before, when they're in the semifinals and it's like the 4 slots and everybody's arm wrestling. Could the announcers say,
"This is a double elimination tournament. This is a double elimination competition. This is a double elimination competition."
One more time? It's literally said 20 times during this tournament.
And isn't it? Yes, they do say that a lot. It's really weird to me, though, because in the championship round, it's not double elimination, right?
No, it's double elimination until you get to the championship round.
And then it's just like,
single elimination, you lose, you're out.
Okay.
But whatever. The announcer says it
Weird
a million
fucking
times.
tournament. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I'm Bull and I lose one time to this one-loss cocksucker already, you could kiss my entire ass. You're taking my money. We're running that back.
Yes, exactly. So
somebody's getting 2 losses before we leave. That's all I'm saying.
The interviews that they have with the arm wrestlers are great too. They all give really good interviews. They're all and then it cuts to Sly, and he's just like, yeah, I'm like a truck, and the hat goes backwards, and I'm a machine, like a truck. Did I say I need a truck? Because I need a truck. Bro, he sounds like he's in 3rd grade, and all these guys are like, yeah, I'm just, when I get in there, I'm a fucking animal, and I'm going to rip that dude's head off. I wear shoes sometimes to work, and, and occasionally I wear flip-flops when I deliver things with my truck.
It doesn't matter if I...
Robert Loggia calls Sly up to his hotel room, and then he gives him a deal, and he's like, hey, win, lose, or draw, you get the truck, I'll give you $500,000. You just got to get the fuck out of here. You got to get out of Mike's life and yada, yada.
And I didn't understand this because wasn't that the point of not locking him up in jail? Like, he signed the Sly even says to him, I signed the paperwork. What do you want?
Yeah, there's no reason for it. The only reason for this scene, because if I'm Sly, I'm like, yeah, I already signed the paperwork. He's my kid anyway. So I'm going to take your check, I'm going to take your truck, and then I'm going to take your fucking kid, because he's my kid. and then I'm going to bounce out of here, and you can go fuck off and kick rocks.
Right.
So,
by the way, that smug secretary that's in the background, this scene too, I'm throwing off the fucking balcony just out of fucking pride.
I think the only reason for this whole scene was for Sly to kick Terry Funk through a fucking double door in the hotel room so he can get back down and do his like big flex in front of him as he walks through the door.
I just wanted to tell him, like, bro, Dalton already did that to him.
Yeah,
like Terry, you gotta know to stop.
Terry Funk just shows up in movies to get his ass kicked. Like that's right before he goes to arm wrestle Bull Hurley. His kid shows up. He's there like my arm, whatever. And the kid's like, "Oh, you made it to the finals, and you're gonna win." And what? He's trying to get all hyped up, and of course Sly reverts back to man baby again. And he's like, "Oh, Michael, I hurt my arm in the last thing, and I don't know. You can't win them all. You win some, you lose some, and I'm probably gonna lose to this guy because he's a goddamn gorilla, and what." And he goes into this thing, and his son turns into the adult again, and he's like, "No, Dad, you could do it. You could do it, and then we could be together based on just love." And I'm like, "Dude, stop taking life lessons from Sly at this point. You're doing good as the adult." But he wants to be with his dad, and that powers his dad. The love powers his dad to beat Bull Hurley. Cool. And
hey, Michael, teach me how to balance a checkbook after this, huh? Like, what are you doing thinking you're going to open a business?
Teach me how to balance it. I got to go grocery shopping. I mean, do I just get cereal? So he wins the tournament, and he's got Mike on his shoulders, right? And they got the trophy, and they're like, "Yeah, did it, Adrian." And it cuts to Robert Loggia looking at them like, "Oh, he loves his son, I guess." I don't really know, because the next fucking scene is them leaving together to his new truck with the trophy, screwing the hawk in. Hawk and Sons, Sons and Hawk, Hawks, Hockey Hawk. And then they just leave. And that's the end of the movie. There's no Robert Loggia. He just steals his son and leaves.
Oh, yeah, great.
I'll let you go first this week. Does this movie stand the test of time for you, buddy?
No, I'd much rather watch Rocky 86 than this shit. Or, Rocky Balboa. That was a superior movie, and it's basically about the same shit.
You're right again.
For me, this does not stand the test of time. However, the acting is good.
Yes.
The script needs some touch-ups, to say the least, but the script isn't bad. But the final product of this movie, beginning to end, it really needs a lot of work for it to be a good movie that still holds up. The only part of this movie that holds up for me is the arm wrestling tournament, which is weird because I've never seen an arm wrestling tournament.
No, what's funny is I agree with, like, the arm wrestling tournament somehow fits in, but it also makes zero sense whatsoever. It's the weirdest paradox I've ever seen in a movie because it doesn't belong, and it takes away from the, like, oh, father and son, truck driver, he's rich and on their way to an arm wrestling tournament. Like, everybody stops at that part like, what?
You're aggravated, aren't you?
Overall, whether it was through editing, whether it was through rewrites, whether it was the studio needing stuff explained or not explained, something happened to this film where it just kind of went, ugh, and fell apart.
Hey, great.
Listen, I love Sly. He's one of my favorite people of all time. And nobody can rock a 5 o'clock shadow like 80s Sly. Period. That dude is a monster when it comes to the 5 o'clock shadow and a pair of aviators. Oh, goddamn. But
oh, dude, Sly and Cobra is just dripping sex.
Yeah, but that's literally the only thing that still holds up is Sly's 5 o'clock shadow. So, yeah, that's all I got for this movie. You got anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Well, for Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1987's Over the Top.
Michael Cutler is my boy.